If you're looking to spend upwards of 55,000 rupees on a smartphone, one might wonder that should they go for the OnePlus 11, which seems like a low-hanging fruit because of the starting price of 57,000 rupees. But at the same time, your mind starts to wonder whether you should spend a bit more and go for the iPhone 14 instead. Right now, the iPhone 14 is available for 69,000 rupees, and with a few card offers, it can be yours for 65,000 rupees. Up until last week, you could have even got it for as low as 63,000 rupees. And honestly, once you go past the 50 or 55,000 rupees mark, a 6 or 7,000 rupees difference between the OnePlus 11 and iPhone 14 doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Well, don't worry, you're not the only one who is thinking about this. Hey guys, it's Sagar, and in this video, I'm going to compare the OnePlus 11 with the iPhone 14 and see which one should you get, or rather which one would be right for your specific needs. From the introduction of this video, you already know that the OnePlus 11 could be yours for a somewhat lower price. So if price is your only concern, you can just go with it and this video is done for you. But if you're someone who can spend the extra amount, then which one should you go with? Now, being priced somewhat close to each other is where the similarities end. Because other than being in a premium smartphone category, these are two very different smartphones. Let us break it down with a few points, starting with their design. And this includes everything: their size, weight, build materials, and much more. Right by looking at them in my hands, you can definitely tell that the iPhone 14 is smaller than the OnePlus 11. I don't know about you guys, but that is a big plus point for the iPhone in my books, as I like phones which fit better in my average size hands. Don't get me wrong, iPhone 14 is not a small phone. It actually gets a 6.1-inch screen, which is a perfect size for a smartphone if you ask me. But compared to the 6.7-inch OnePlus 11, iPhone feels smaller and more comfortable to hold. It's also thinner, narrower, and lighter one of the two phones. You might know this by now that the iPhone 14 gets flat sides and the front and back glass sits flush within the frame. OnePlus 11 on the other hand gets curved front and back glass, which meets the frame, which is also slightly curved, and this makes it feel really good in your hands. Although it's a big phone, it doesn't feel very odd in your hands. Thanks to the curved edges, it blends very nicely with the fingers and palm of your hand. Both the phones get a metal frame. One on the iPhone is made of anodized aluminium, while one on the OnePlus 11 gets a shiny finish, which I would admit looks very good, but it gathers a ton of fingerprints and makes the phone a bit slippery. This color of the OnePlus 11 gets an aged or matte glass back, whereas all colors of the iPhone 14 get a glossy glass back. I'm not a fan of the glossy glass back as it gathers a lot of fingerprints and looks very dirty. For this reason, I have applied a thin matte protector on the back of the glass of my iPhone 14. I do this to all of my iPhones and that makes it look so much better. Durability wise, iPhone 14 gets IP68 water and dust resistance rating. OnePlus 11 on the other hand just gets IP64 rating, which means the iPhone can officially survive being submerged under 6 meters of water for 30 minutes, while the OnePlus 11 can just withstand some light drizzle of rain. Design is subjective, and frankly, I feel both these phones look very good. They both have their plus points. If you like bigger phones, you can go with the OnePlus 11, but as I mentioned earlier, I lean towards smaller phones, so my pick for the design is the iPhone 14. Speaking of their size, one of the main reasons which dictates how big or small a smartphone would be is their display, so let's talk about it next. iPhone 14 comes with a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display with a resolution of 2532 by 1170 pixels. It gets ceramic shield glass protection, which is some version of Corning's Gorilla Glass, and Apple says that it is the most durable glass on any smartphone. OnePlus 11 on the other hand comes with a 6.7-inch curved Fluid AMOLED LTPO3 display with a resolution of 3216 by 1440 pixels. It gets Gorilla Glass Victus protection, which OnePlus again says is the most durable glass. Despite of the claims, it should be no surprise that the flat front and back glass of the iPhone 14, which sits flush with the metal frame of the phone, is more durable than the exposed curved glass on the OnePlus 11. While iPhone's display can get a bit brighter in typical conditions, it is the OnePlus 11 which gets a slightly higher peak brightness rating of 1300 nits. It also gets variable refresh rate, which can ramp up from 1 to 120Hz depending on what you are doing on your screen. iPhone 14's display on the other hand is just locked at 60Hz. While it is true that 60Hz on an iPhone feels much smoother than 60Hz on any other phone, but this just doesn't compare with the smoothness of a 120Hz panel. If you're someone who enjoys playing high refresh rate games, then you will have a better time and an overall smoother gameplay experience with the OnePlus 11. That being said, overall you would love the display on both these phones. Colors look amazing, contrast is great, and the viewing angles are amazing on both of them. I however have a slight issue with the curved display on the OnePlus 11. While you're swiping, some of the content flows over the edges, and while watching videos you can clearly see a crease over these edges because light refracts a bit differently over the curved part of the screen. I know it might not affect everyone, but once you notice this, it is hard to let go of that weird look. iPhone 14 has this notch at the top which mostly stays out of your way while you're using the phone, but it creeps in on your content when you're watching videos in the full screen mode and can be just as distracting as the crease on the edge of the OnePlus 11. Smaller display of the iPhone makes the phone compact and more comfortable in the hand, and it also helps it fit better in your pocket. But if you like to consume a lot of content on your phone, you might want to go with a bigger display like on the OnePlus 11. So when looking at their displays, you will have to prioritize your needs. Think about what you need. A bigger display which is better for watching videos but is slightly uncomfortable in your hands and pocket, or a smaller display which is comfortable to fit in your hands and pocket. Personally, I don't watch a lot of videos on my phone, so I prefer to have comfortable fit, which means I would much rather carry the iPhone 14 in my pockets. Now we saw the notch on the iPhone's forehead. It is there to hide the front-facing camera, dot projector, flood illuminator, infrared camera and some other tech behind it which is necessary for the Face ID tech to work. Apple's Face ID is one of the fastest, most effortless and secure way to unlock your phone. OnePlus 11 on the other hand gets an optical based fingerprint sensor under the display to unlock the phone. I have a few people claim in the comments that it is very fast, but I have been using this phone for over a month now and I can say for sure that it is not only not very fast or accurate, it is not very secure either. First off, every day at least for 5 to 6 times, it just doesn't unlock my phone on the first attempt. I checked and there is no issue with my phone. I have a few other friends who have purchased this phone as well and all of them have the same complaint. And secondly, I have 3 of my fingers registered on my phone and it unlocks with all of those fingers, but I don't have any of my wife's fingers registered, but she can still unlock it with her thumb. So yeah, it is not very secure either, so be very aware about this. Coming to the internal hardware, this is where both these phones get even further apart from each other. OnePlus 11 packs in all top of the line specs. It comes with Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, which is way better in terms of power and heat management than at least the last 2 or 3 generations of this chip. It is coupled with Adreno 740 GPU, 8 or 16 GB of LPDDR5X RAM and 128 or 256 GB of built-in storage. It gets a 5000 mAh dual cell battery inside. iPhone 14 on the other hand comes with Apple's A15 Bionic chip, which is the same one that we got on the iPhone 13 Pro series. It is definitely a very fast chip and Android phones have tough time even getting close to its performance and efficiency, but it would have been still nice to see a new processor on a newer generation of phones. It is coupled with 6 GB of RAM and 128, 256 or 512 GB of fast NVMe storage, and this phone packs in a 3279 mAh battery inside. Both the phones get all of the other necessary features like 5G antennas, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS and so on. OnePlus 11 also gets the latest Wi-Fi 7 support while the iPhone comes with Wi-Fi 6. You don't have to worry about this too much because Wi-Fi 7 routers are nowhere to be found as of now, and the situation will be same for years to come because when they start showing up, they will be priced much higher for the first few years, so just don't worry about that. Now despite of having a bit mellow specs, iPhone 14's performance is something OnePlus 11 could only hope to achieve someday. That being said, in real life, both these phones seem to be very fast, and unless you are using both of them together and specifically looking for the difference, you can't really tell which one is faster. Both of them can handle anything that you can throw at them without any issues. A part of a reason why iPhone performs as good as it does is due to its operating system. It is running the latest version of iOS 16, which is built as per the hardware that Apple has put inside this phone, and that is the reason why it is so efficient. OnePlus 11 on the other hand is running on the latest version of OxygenOS 13, which is built on top of Android 13. While this OS has a bit of quirks and flaws, I think it is one of the best and the lightest Android skins out there. With the OxygenOS having a few bugs and the iOS 16 being one of the buggiest iOS updates in the recent times, both these phones have a bit of flaws when it comes to their software. That being said, I don't think any of the bugs on either of these phones are so big that they will ruin your overall usage experience. Apple is known for providing software updates to their phones for more than 5 years, which is the best in the industry. But OnePlus is also not too far behind. They are also known for providing software support for 3+ years at least, if not more. Software-wise, look at which of these operating systems fit your lifestyle the best and go with it. If you are looking for ease of use and you want things to work without worrying too much about anything, then go with the iPhone 14. If you like customizations and if you like to fiddle with a lot of settings on your phone, then the OnePlus 11 will better suit your needs. With that, let us look at the cameras on both these phones. iPhone 14 gets a dual camera setup on its back, whereas the OnePlus 11 gets 3 rear-facing cameras, and with the wide lens also being able to capture macro shots, it can actually be termed as a quad camera setup. Both cameras on the iPhone 14 get 12 megapixel sensors. Main one has a 24mm lens, f1.5 aperture and optical image stabilization, and the other one gets a 13mm ultra-wide-angle lens and f2.4 aperture. Main camera on the OnePlus 11 gets a 50 megapixel sensor with f1.8 aperture, 24mm lens and optical image stabilization. Next camera gets a 48 megapixel sensor with f2.2 aperture and an ultra-wide-angle lens. This camera also gets autofocus, so it can focus on very nearby objects and acts as a macro lens as well. And final camera at the back gets a 32 megapixel sensor with f2.0 aperture and a 48mm lens. This gives us 2x optical zoom compared to the primary camera. I have made a very detailed camera comparison with over 160 image and video samples from both these phones combined. So if you want to take a detailed dive into their cameras, make sure to watch that video. Summary of that video is as follows. OnePlus has high resolution cameras, but in the default mode it is not capturing most detailed images. There is also an orangish yellow hue in all of its images, which might look okay in some of the images which you take outside in bright sun, but it doesn't look all that good in all of its images. Its dynamic range is much better than what we could see in the iPhone's images. It's been a few years since the iPhone is struggling with the high dynamic range in its images, and I think it is high time Apple fixes this. OnePlus gets an added advantage of being able to take macro shots with its wide-angle camera. This is just one of the features which makes its cameras more feature-rich than the iPhone's. iPhone 14 takes amazingly crisp images for having just a 12-megapixel main camera. It produces much better looking colors, but this time it falls way behind in the HDR department. Personally for me, the portrait shots look better from the iPhone 14 because of the extra details and the fact that it handles the color in a more natural way. For low-light images, it is a close call, but I would again pick the iPhone 14 because it captures less noise and slightly more details in the shots that we saw. Although the iPhone 14 gets just a 12-megapixel camera at the front, its selfies, both normal and portrait ones, are much better than the ones from the 16-megapixel camera of the OnePlus 11. There are no details in the OnePlus selfies, and it does something weird to the faces to make it look brighter, which in my opinion completely ruins its images. Video resolution options are plenty on the main camera of the OnePlus 11. And if you are looking to capture 8K videos, it is your only option because iPhone can't even shoot videos at 8K resolution. I think most of the people getting these phones will end up shooting 4K videos, and those videos look smoother and much more natural from the iPhone 14. Again, for a much deeper dive into their cameras, make sure to check out the dedicated camera comparison between these two phones from the link in the description section. I'm really impressed with the battery life on these phones, iPhone 14 especially. Both of them will easily last you an entire day on a single charge, and frankly, they are more than capable of taking you halfway through the next day as well. Even if you are a heavy user, you can easily expect to get a day's worth of battery life out of both these phones. I think the battery life on the iPhone is more impressive because it just gets a 3279 mAh battery as opposed to the 5000 mAh one on the OnePlus 11. And despite of that, you get pretty much same amount of backup out of the two. If someone did a battery drain test, I think the OnePlus 11 might just last a bit longer, but not by much. So it is really impressive to see Apple squeeze out so much performance out of a much smaller battery. Things get interesting when it is time to charge them up. OnePlus 11 comes with a 100-watt Superbook charger in the box, and it can easily add a day's worth of battery to this phone in just 15 to 20 minutes of charging. iPhone 14 on the other hand doesn't even come with a charger in the box, let alone a fast charger. It does support somewhat fast charging if you connect it to a 20 to 30 watt charger, but one, you will have to buy this charger separately, and two, these speeds are nowhere nearly as close to the charging speed of the OnePlus 11. Even with a compatible fast charger, you will at least need an hour and 15 minutes to completely juice up the iPhone 14, whereas the 100-watt charger could completely juice up the OnePlus 11 in just under half an hour. There is however a silver lining for the iPhone 14. It supports wireless charging, which the OnePlus 11 doesn't, if that makes any difference to you. Battery backup wise, I would say both are on even grounds, but when it comes to charging, OnePlus 11 is easily miles ahead of the iPhone 14. So these are all the things that you guys should know while trying to decide between these two phones. If you guys are counting on me to choose a winner, then that is going to be a very difficult thing, because everyone's needs are very different and the phone which suits my needs might not cater your needs in the same way. Basically, you can go with the iPhone 14 if you want a smaller or comfortable size phone, or if you're looking to get a phone that is easier to use and which will be with you for 4, 5 or even more years. On the other hand, if you want a bigger phone which charges super quickly and has more cameras on its back, then OnePlus 11 is the one to go with. Look at all the points which I mentioned in this video and see which is more relevant to your needs and choose wisely. If you are going to be spending this much amount on a smartphone, you should definitely get the one which suits your needs the best. By the way, if you're going with the OnePlus 11 just because of its size, then you should know that Apple also has the iPhone 14 Plus, which gets all the same features as the iPhone 14, but that one comes with a bigger 6.5-inch display and a much larger battery which will last you way longer than the one on the OnePlus 11. So if size is your only concern, then you might want to look at that as well. Personally, I'm going to go with the iPhone 14 because of its size and the ease of use. Which one would you go with? Let me know in the comments. Whichever one you decide to get, I will really appreciate if you get it from the affiliate links in the description section. It won't cost you anything extra, but it goes a long way in helping me make these videos for you guys. That is it for this video guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for a lot more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.